On the map, we see a lot of aftershocks in the region where the major earthquakes occurred on 6 February. And we also see some seismic activity to the south and to the southeast. That's Lebanon and even further down, and also on the other side, Iraq and Iran. And because of these major earthquakes, the stress distribution has significantly changed throughout the area. Now, people have asked me, is there going to be a major earthquake in Lebanon or even Egypt? Eventually, yes, because if we look at history, these countries are prone to major seismic activity. But we cannot say, based on the recent activity, if that is going to happen next week or in 5 or 10 years. Nobody really knows. So what we do with our work is we isolate critical time frames based on planetary and lunar positions and possibly atmospheric fluctuations to pinpoint potential regions. At this point, we cannot possibly say whether there will be major seismic activity following those major earthquakes in central Turkey. If we look at the recent activity since the 7th, with a threshold of magnitude 5.6 and larger, we see one seismic event at the Solomon Islands. It happened after the smaller lunar peak on the 8th and really towards the higher lunar peak on late on the 9th and 10th. We had it yesterday night and early this morning. And that lunar peak will be significant in the coming days. We could see a seismic increase possibly into the 6 magnitude range, 6.4, maybe larger, 6.7. This is because the moon had a conjunction with Jupiter, and I marked that here with this green line. And these conjunctions, they can be pretty critical. In a worst case scenario, and that's a really worst case scenario, we could see a major seismic event in the next few days. It could be later today or on 11 or 12 following that lunar peak. But my estimate currently is that it will stay in the 6 magnitude range, possibly between 6.4, 6.7 roughly. Then we see critical planetary geometry further down the week. That will become more critical. It's sort of a convergence of critical planetary geometry on the 14th and 15th, and it could mark roughly the 15th to the 17th as more critical. But I will explain that planetary geometry in much more detail in the next update. We are not there yet, and it also depends on what's going to happen in the next few days. If we look at atmospheric fluctuations that we picked up in the last couple of days. On the 2nd, it's about 8 days ago, but it may still be somewhat significant. On the 2nd, we had this fluctuation over South America and possibly the Eastern Caribbean plate. But we already had a magnitude 5.6 in Chile following that fluctuation, and maybe that's all. I'm not sure about that. Then we have fluctuations on the 4th. And that was over the Gulf of California. I think I said the Gulf of Mexico in the previous update. Of course, it's the Gulf of California. And into the Pacific could also mean the Easter Island region or further down the Pacific Antarctic ridge. And that would be around 6 magnitude usually, or up to low 6. Then we have fluctuations marking Alaska and further down Tonga, Fiji region down to New Zealand. I covered these also in the previous update, and they could be significant later today, these fluctuations, because if we count 6 days, about 6 days, that we would end up on the 10th. So that could be later today or tomorrow, possibly. So these fluctuations on the 4th, again, that is possibly Mexico, Guerrero, Mexico, maybe. I'll show you another fluctuation in a minute that we picked up yesterday. And also Alaska, maybe, and further down, Tonga, Fiji, that's always a seismically active area. We wouldn't be surprised to see some seismic increase there, but it could also be significant for New Zealand. And that could be later today. It could be significant for later today. Then on the 7th, we picked up a fluctuation that was marking regions over the West Pacific. Could be Japan, Taiwan, Philippines possibly, and Indonesia. That was on the 7th, so that could be significant in the next few days. Tomorrow, the 11th, 12th, maybe. Following the lunar peak, we correlate it to the positions of the planets in the moon. We don't have critical planetary geometry, but we do have this lunar peak on the 9th, 10th, and from the 10th to the 12th. So this fluctuation on the 7th over the West Pacific could also be significant in the next few days.